Advice for dealing with controlling Mill. I am losing my sanity. I have been with my now husband for about 10 years. In the beginning, I had no issues with my Mill. There were definitely things that I didn't agree with her on, like politics, values, but her views didn't seem extreme or offensive, so it didn't bother me. My husband comes from a mixed cultural background where his father was born in the country we live in, and his mother immigrated here when she was a child. I only mention this because we had an ethnic wedding as my husband's religious beliefs echo his mother's. Again, I have no issue with this, as I also have mixed ethnicity, but am not religious per se, and it was important to my husband to have an ethnic wedding. My now husband has always lived with his parents. This isn't out of the ordinary for his culture, and actually quite common where I live as the cost of living has become so high. This never bothered me. I could tell when we started dating that his parents would give him a hard time when he slept over at my place, but I chalked it up to being because he's always lived at home and that she was just overprotective and this would change over time. Spoiler, it didn't. I was, however, allowed to sleep over at his house whenever I wanted it and his parents had no issues with that. Eventually, I ended up moving in, but we moved into the suite attached to their house. Their tenant was moving out, his parents offered it to us at a very reduced rental rate, and because I had no major issues with them at the time, I thought it was a great opportunity to allow us to save some money to hopefully purchase our own home. Now I think it was because Mill didn't want her son to move out so she could involve herself in every single thing and control. There had been some comments and things that she had said at this point that bothered me, but nothing wild and honestly seemed like pretty normal annoying Mill things that happen to most people. Because I had already been staying over a lot, I was very comfortable in their home and with my in-laws. Fast forward to our engagement. At this point I had been living there for about a year. My husband surprised me with a beautiful proposal and I was very happy. After the proposal we went to another location where his parents were waiting to surprise us. My parents were not invited, although he did get my dad's blessing, despite living only 45 minutes away. This was during the pandemic, so I thought this was why they were not invited, although restaurants were still open and no mask protocols were in place, but again, I didn't let it bother me at the time. Living in the suite presented concerns for me. They had keys for our entrance and were also able to access it from a door that attached it to the rest of the house. This door was handy because the suite is quite small and my husband used his old bedroom as an office, as we were both working from home and it wasn't feasible for us both to work in the same space. The door also opened up to a rec room area where we pulled together a makeshift gym because of the pandemic, so it was nice to have the workout space. We also would hang out upstairs with his family often, joining them for dinner, movie nights, etc. If we were away for a weekend, Mill would come into our suite and clean, do laundry, reorganize cupboards, etc. We would tell her this isn't okay, and things would stop for a few months, but then the cycle would repeat. Even when we explicitly said our suite is in a mess right now because we are switching out winter clothes for summer, please don't go in, she went in. I had applied self-tanner the night before we left and slept with it on, which left some residual washable streaks on our bed sheet, and even though our bed was made, she inspected it, claimed we are slobs, and threw out the bed sheets. This wasn't the first time she had gone in when we were away, which is why we asked her not to this time, but she just couldn't help herself. They also had beepers on our front entrance and door attaching the suite to the rest of the house. Any time a door would open it would beep upstairs so they knew when we were coming and leaving. This was in place before we moved into the suite and applied to all doors in the house because of their alarm system and was something that could be turned on and off. I don't think their old tenant was aware, but she was a nice tenant and probably wouldn't care anyways. We would always turn it off if we came home late, if we had to go in and out at night with our dog to try and not wake them up, but we would have to go into the main house to do this, thus causing another beep, so we had to weigh the options. This really didn't bother me because as homeowners, they are entitled to feel secure in their home. It started to bother me when the beeping was engaged and we would come home late and get text messages asking why the door was beeping late at night and why we were coming home so late. At this point we were both in our late 20s. Things started to ramp up when our wedding planning began. Culturally, these weddings are usually a week long, so there is a lot of planning to do. Because I had been with my husband for so long, I had become very close with his extended family, especially his cousins and their wives and friends, as we are all very close in age, and to this day they are some of my best friends and the friend group I spend most of my time with. This was great because most of them were married and had gone through the wedding planning process and offered a lot of support and guidance. My family, who have never been to this kind of wedding before, definitely needed the help. My parents offered to help plan in any way they could, but were left out of a lot of planning details due to their lack of knowledge and experience. This didn't seem to bother them, or me, as we are quite relaxed, and go with the flow kind of people. I also was a very relaxed bride. I was happy to let my Mill and her friends take the lead on the event planning, as they have a much bigger family than me. I think the guest list was about 200 for them and 50 for me, and the experience. These weddings are a big deal in this culture, and because my family is a different religion, the significance of these events were not as important to them, but that is not to say they didn't attend, offer help, or appreciate them. I also was present for the planning to offer input. It's not like I was like, okay, I'm checked out, you do it all yourself. I also organized a small culturally significant event for my family. I had gained some weight through my 20s, as one does during this time for a variety of reasons. After we got engaged, every time I went upstairs, Mill would remind me I should lose it for the wedding. She would ask me what my now best friends did for workouts, who she knows as they are daughters of her friends, what they ate, and tell me I should do hot yoga with them. She would constantly compare me to them. After multiple times I told her that I didn't want to go to hot yoga and had started working out with a personal trainer. I also took offense because I used to be a nationally ranked athlete with a sports scholarship and intense training regimen, so I know how to work out. She would tell me that I didn't need to be on mental health medication, my mistake for ever opening up to her that I struggled with depression, and that it was making me gain weight and that I should just drink more water. It also frustrated me because of course I knew I had gained weight, and of course I wanted to lose it. I didn't need to be constantly reminded. My husband spoke to her about it, but she said she is just treating me like her own daughter and continued. I think this is when I started to become more withdrawn and disenchanted with her. As much as I hate to admit she was able to impact me, this really did cause some self-esteem issues for me. I know my worth isn't dependent on my weight, but it still got to me. I went wedding outfit shopping with her for the first time, since I had never been to these kind of stores, and my husband came as well, but this didn't help as once we got to the ethnic stores he went his own way as to not accidentally see any dresses I might buy. I am a tall person, with a larger bust, and at this point I was a little heavier than the average woman. The floor models for wedding and reception outfits didn't fit me properly, but it wasn't a problem because these outfits are usually made to order, and I think this is similar to the standard white color wedding dresses, but I'm not sure. Every store we went to, she would ask the salesperson how long things would take to order because I am bigger and will need custom made or alterations. I understand this could be considered a language thing, but it still hurt my feelings. We ran into her friend and her dill who was also getting married that year at one of the shops, and she was also trying on outfits, so we tried them on in the same area. When I came out of the fitting room, my Mill pointed out my stomach because it was bulging out a bit in the two-piece outfits and laughed and said, "Oh my God, your stomach." I was mortified. I did end up picking out my reception outfit that day, with her approval. This will be significant later. I vowed to never go back with her because by the end of the day I felt insecure and defeated with my body. She told me not to tell any of my friends what I picked and not to bring any friends with me when I pick my wedding dress so that it would be a surprise. I went back with my mother and one friend, who isn't the same ethnicity, to pick my wedding dress. I would have really liked to be able to bring my ethnic friends with me to pick my wedding dress because I just felt like that's a fun moment for the bride no matter what culture you're from, but I didn't want to upset Mill. Meanwhile, as we prepared for the wedding events, Ring cameras were set up around the perimeter of their house. I understand this, there would be up to 100 people at their house during the wedding week for different events and different days. There was also a camera installed at our suite entrance outside which was used to chastise my husband and I for ordering food delivery. I had begun to distance myself more at this point. I stopped going upstairs as much, tried to keep my interactions strictly for wedding-related discussions. One of my friends who had had this kind of wedding took me back to the ethnic stores to get a few more outfits and provide input. I ended up sharing my outfits with my close friends but told them not to tell her, which they didn't. Mill misplaced some wedding jewelry. She came into the suite, into my room, at 7 a.m. shaking me awake and screaming at me. She had texted me 6 times telling me she had pictures of all the things she had bought and was going to call the police on me if I didn't give them back. I was in disbelief. I would never steal anything, and why would I steal wedding jewelry for my own wedding? Wouldn't it be obvious if I wore it? She claimed she knew I had it because I had been in their spare bedroom where she keeps her ethnic outfits. She was right, I had been. I did go in this room and try on some outfits because I was ordering some things online and wasn't sure about sizing for different styles. I didn't tell her I did this, I just didn't want to involve her because I didn't want more comments on my body and my need to lose weight. I can honestly say this is the only thing from my POV that I had done wrong, but I didn't think I needed to tell her as this room also had some of my outfits from previous events. I didn't think she would know that I had tried on anything else. I never needed permission to go into this room before, but I do understand how she would feel upset that I tried on something that didn't belong to me. I was just so fed up, and justified it to myself because she has gone into my bedroom multiple times when I wasn't home. I still feel guilty about this because if the roles were reversed I would be mad too, and I was being a hypocrite. I just honestly didn't think she would know, and I didn't mean to cause any harm. I told her over and over again that I didn't take anything. I screamed back at her to check my closet and wardrobe because I don't have anything that didn't belong to me. I don't remember the extent of the conversation, specifically what I said, too clearly as I really think I was blinded by rage, but I am sure I wasn't very nice. She responded by saying I am a sick puppy who should be in the hospital, weaponizing my depression, and said she doesn't believe anything I say because people of my culture lie and steal. This isn't the first time she had made a racist remark, previously saying that my people would always destroy the hotel rooms when they stayed at her place work. My husband came out of the shower and ended up pushing her out of our suite. We thought that would be it, and he went into the office to get away from her, and I stayed home as my office had different COVID rules at the time. This was extremely offensive to me as my people suffer racism every single day of their lives and have extreme health inequities and suffer from severe generational trauma. I had opened up to her about this and the way it has affected my own family. I could not believe the words that came out of her mouth, and I am still very affected by it. I have always respected her culture, showing up to big events with a smile, even when I didn't know many people or speak the language they all speak. That day, when I was in the shower, she came into the suite again. Keep in mind, this area is also my office space. While she was in there, she went through my bedside table where I had a lot of really personal items that you wouldn't want your mill to see, and some legal cannabis, gummies, flour. She left all 3 drawers open, so when I came out of the shower I knew she had been there. It was like she was trying to send me a message. She then told my Phil and husband that she thinks I have a drug problem. Sorry, but weed is legal here, and I don't see the difference in having a gummy vs having a beer. And she doesn't have a problem with her husband or sons having a few drinks. As I prepared myself for my next virtual meeting, I heard her coming down the stairs and immediately ran into the bathroom with my laptop, since it was the only door I could lock in the house. I just knew she was coming in again. She then started banging on the bathroom door telling me we needed to talk. I wasn't ready to talk, especially that soon. I told her to go away and that I was getting ready for a meeting and turned the shower on, hoping that would get her to go away. It didn't. She continued yelling at me through the door telling me that I'm tearing the family apart. Eventually she did apologize and we agreed to move forward so that we could make this wedding a success. I tried to forgive and forget, but I still haven't been able to. But I put a smile on, and although this made me withdraw more, I continued to engage with her wedding planning, attended decorator meetings, delivered invitations, etc. My husband and I had been looking at purchasing our first home. One day, he invited me to go look at a place over lunch. When we arrived, his parents were there. No one introduced me to the realtor, and the entire presentation was geared towards my husband. The realtor didn't know I'd be living there too, or who I was. I'm not sure if she thought I was a sister or a friend, but she definitely didn't know we were engaged. When she found out, she emailed me apologizing. I don't know why I didn't say anything, or why my husband didn't say anything, but no one did. I don't know if I can even say we, because my husband and his parents had looked at other places without me, and this was the first showing I had actually gone to, ended up deciding to purchase this, and his parents were willing to help us with the down payment if mine were. They got to see the model. They got to ask their questions during the showing. Mine didn't. I had to ask my parents if they would contribute to the down payment, and I knew they would, but I knew this wasn't right. But I didn't want them to think differently of my husband, and I wanted to get out of this suite. I still hold a lot of resentment over this. The wedding goes forward. A week prior, Mill called my friends and asked them to come over and make sure my outfits were organized. This angered me because she had been so insistent that I don't reveal my outfits to anyone, but at this point I think it was clear that I did not want her involved with my outfit choices. When my friends offered, I told them I didn't need them to come and my outfits were all good. I didn't need my Mill to arrange things with my friends for me. If I needed their help I would ask, just like I had already been doing. This caused some friction, and one of them ended up calling me and saying that my Mill had been telling her how I haven't been helping with the wedding, been withdrawn and rude to her, and that she thinks I owe my Mill an apology. This destroyed me. I had not told my friends the extent of the bullying and things Mill had done to me because I didn't want to start family drama. My Mill knew this was one of my close friends. I still kept my mouth shut, thanked her for her input and said I didn't mean to offend them, just that I had everything under control because the last thing I needed was an issue with my friends before the wedding. Before we got married I read a message to my husband from his brother where he was saying he has been hearing us fight in the house and was concerned about us getting married. We had been fighting a lot because of the family stress, and I do not blame his brother for his concern. When my husband defended me and blamed the wedding stress, his brother agreed with him and stated that their mother had been in his ear about me. A lot of things happened during the wedding that I don't want to bore anyone explaining, as this is already super long. I am not a bridezilla, but I just imagined things would be different. I had been to a lot of ethnic weddings for their family and my friends, so I wasn't going into this blind. I knew things are more family and friends centered than just on the bride and groom. I knew that inviting a lot of people was normal. I accepted that the majority of guests would be from my husband's side and people that I don't know. I still grinned and bared it. Finally, we get to the end, the reception. The reception was the day after the wedding. Both our families knew the color that my husband and I were wearing. I told my family and friends not to wear this color, as is pretty customary with these weddings. I just wanted to match my husband and no one else. My Mill was aware of this, as one of her friend's daughters made her Mill exchange an outfit because it was too similar to hers, and it was some hot gossip for a while in Mill's friend group. She also previously unintentionally matched a bride at a previous reception and felt bad about it and didn't want to take pictures with her because she felt embarrassed. We meet our families for pictures before the reception started, and my husband's entire immediate family, and some of Mill's friends, were wearing the same color as us. I wouldn't even consider this as big of a deal if my family was also matching us, but they weren't. They felt left out and didn't understand. It was already hard enough, and extremely expensive for them, being the parents of the bride in such a big wedding, and I know they felt like outsiders. I couldn't believe it. I kept my mouth shut. My Mills outfit matched my husband's suit better than my own did. His dad wore a suit with matching accents and tie, whereas my family was wearing different colors. The family photos are sad because one family is matching us completely and mine look like outsiders. I don't know if I am overreacting at this point. I feel like my mind is so warped in what is normal or not. My filly made a speech and didn't mention me, barely mentioned my husband, and just spoke about his amazing wife and her friends for pulling this all together. Didn't mention or thank my parents. The pictures from the pre-reception cocktails were mostly Mill and her friends having their own photo shoot. I am not exaggerating. There are barely any photos of my family in the entirety of the wedding, and my parents were upset, as there are none of some of my cousins and aunt and uncle after them traveling to be there. Our new home build has been delayed for almost a year now due to supply shortages and some structural issues that had to be fixed. We are still living in the suite. There is still a camera on our door. She now sets up cameras inside the house whenever she is away. Doesn't bother me since I only go upstairs when absolutely necessary, but I know this puts stress on my husband as he is in the middle, and I feel like she does this because she doesn't trust me. I have been trying to have a civil relationship with her since we are still living here, but I struggle to even be able to go hang out with them upstairs. We have a lot of financial commitments right now, and because we have no firm date on when our home will be ready, they're hoping end of summer, and a rental shortage, we are trying to tough it out here. Even though I don't like it, it makes sense financially, and this is not my husband's fault. Everything has been seeming to trigger me lately, and I take it out on my husband, i.e., we went on vacation and sent a photo to his family group chat. Her response was one picture in 2 days. I lost it at my husband blaming him. Why can't she just say nice picture? We got in last night. This is the first picture we've taken. Yesterday, my husband came in after work and I could tell he was stressed. I know he had been upstairs working and his parents were home, and I already knew what he was going to say. His mom is going on vacation and I haven't seen her in almost a month, and that I should go upstairs and visit because it's not healthy. I just know those aren't his words, and I could pick up on his stress for having to ask me to do this. I know they were talking about me, but I didn't want to start a fight, so I said okay. Now I have been stressed all day about going up there. I don't know why. I guess I think it will be weird and awkward because I haven't seen her in so long. I don't know. Any advice on how to cope with this is appreciated. I wish I could just get over it and not care and move on. I hate putting this stress on my husband because I know it must be very hard. I feel like I have some sort of mental block that prevents me from just going up there and putting on a smile like I used to do. Comment. Your Mill is truly vile and vicious. However, your husband is allowing it. He should have your back, and he most certainly should be telling his mother to stay out of your bedroom. Not asking her, telling her. I am going to make a suggestion that you move out and go and stay with your parents if possible. I am not suggesting that you leave your husband. I am suggesting that you leave also here until you move into your own home. I am also going to suggest that if your name is not on the title to your home, that you rectify this before you move in. I would also recommend that you check to make sure Mill's name is not on the title. So we have established that your Mill is not only hideous but batshit too. So what is your husband going to do about it? Please ask him that outright. Ask him how he intends to be an actual husband to you and not to his mother. You need to get your husband into therapy or your married life will be horrific. The constant stress of this situation is wearing you down. Look at the book list to start, as your husband should not be in the middle. When you married, you should have become his priority, and he will need help navigating this. His mother has spent his whole life behaving like this, so he thinks it's normal. You are adults, so you need space and privacy. If you can, find a way to pay her back the house money. This will be held over your head forever and she thinks she owns a part of that house. You will get no peace there. She will expect keys and full access, and you may even be her retirement plan. She will throw at you that you lived with them. She should not be in your marriage at all. Look up a leave and cleave therapist or search YouTube for enmeshed relationships. The lines here are too blurred for you to be successful. Can you imagine what would happen if you brought a child into this? I dread to think. Good luck.